How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Quarantine Science. Today's video, the learning target we're going to focus on is how to convert between measurements of a single unit. For example, this would be things like converting between feet and meters or milliliters and liters. Throughout the video, I'm just going to show you guys the order of operations, demonstrating how to do that and the math behind why that works. And then I'm going to work through 3 examples. With that said, let's get started. To convert between units of different types, of different measurements, say you want to convert between feet and meters, you follow a certain order of operations. And that order of operations is you first write out your starting units. This is your initial measurement that you took. I like to make it a fraction for this purposes. It's your units over 1, whatever that number is. You multiply it by a unit conversion factor that has your desired units on top and your starting units on the bottom. When you multiply your starting units by the unit conversion factor that you've turned into a fraction with your desired units on top and your starting units on the bottom, your starting units on this side will cancel out the starting units on this side, and then you will be just left with the number of your desired units that you were trying to figure out to begin with. To kind of illustrate that a little bit further, say you wanted to convert between feet and meters. You would just write out the number of feet that you initially measured. Make that a fraction over 1. You would multiply it by a unit conversion factor that told you how many meters were in so many feet. And then that would leave you with the total number of meters that you have measured that are equivalent to the number of feet that you measured. Let's go ahead and take a look at our first example. Okay, say you wanted to convert between 10 feet to meters. You were at the basketball court, you're doing a physics assignment at your local school, or you're just trying to do some basic physics related to basketball. The distance between the basketball hoop and the floor is typically about 10 feet. You need to convert that to meters because most everything you do in physics and chemistry needs to be converted to meters. So let's go ahead and do that, because maybe say your science teacher or your college professor won't let you do it by using Google. We write down our 10 feet, put it over 1, just for the sake of fractions. And then we need to multiply this feet by a unit conversion factor that has our desired units on top. We're trying to convert this to meters, and our starting units so that we can cancel them out when we multiply through. In 1 meter, there are roughly 3.28 feet. We'll talk about significant figures in another video. To figure out how many meters are in 10 feet, what you do is you multiply all the way through. 10 feet times 1 gets you 10, I guess it would be feet meters, but we'll just call it 10 feet meters. 1 times 3.28, we'll multiply through in the bottom one over 3.28 feet. Now, in this case, we're not quite done yet because we need this bottom number down here to equal 1. So to do that, we will just, well, for me, I'm going to use a calculator here. 10 divided by 3.28 equals, that comes out to about 3.048, so we'll call it 3.05 meters. Feet cancel out when we divide, and you're left with just that desired unit right there. Okay, let's look at another example. Say you're doing a chemistry experiment. You're trying to convert between milliliters and liters because the equation that you're trying to use in chemistry requires that you have your units in liters. First thing we've got to do is same thing as last time, write down our starting units that we have, our 55 milliliters that we measured with a graduated cylinder. And then we need to multiply it by a unit conversion factor that includes milliliters and liters. That is our desired units that we want and our starting units on the bottom. In this case, our unit conversion factor that we just happen to have handy for us, there are 1,000 milliliters in every 1 liter. Figure this out, just multiply through again. 55 times 1 gets us 55. That is liters over 1,000 milliliters. Okay, we're not done yet. We need this bottom part to equal 0, so I'm going to bring this down here. We have 55 milliliters and 1,000 milliliters. 55 divided by 1,000. I'm sure I could have mathed this in my head, but it's better to know than to think. Equals 0.055 liters when milliliters and milliliters cancel out on the top and the bottom. If you can kind of pick up what you're supposed to do, orders of operations, you can kind of tell already and just do mental math that when you have a 1 on top here and the number that you're supposed to be working with that's greater than 1 down here, you can just go 55 divided by 1,000 because you know that's what you're going to end up having to do over here. I advise you to follow these steps if this is all very new to you so that you don't lose your order of operations there and you don't make any errors in your math, because if you make something of a mistake like this early on, it could really hurt you later if you're trying to do some problem solving that involves a lot of steps. With that said, let's go ahead and look at one more example. Okay, for this last problem, I'm going to be doing that kind of shorthand method that I showed you before. If I end up with the conversion factor, I haven't quite looked that far ahead yet to see what that's going to look like. But say you're trying to figure out how many kilograms you weigh. Here in the United States, we follow the imperial system because we like to be different from the rest of the world. And we weigh ourselves in pounds when we go to the doctor. So me, myself, I weigh about 195 pounds, depending on the day and what I'm doing. I want to figure out how many kilograms I weigh. So we'll try and figure that out. First thing we do, find our unit conversion factor, found that 2.2 pounds roughly equals 1 kilogram. So we put our desired units on top. Boy, I got lucky with this one. 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds. Kilogram number goes on top because it's the unit that we want. Pounds number goes on the bottom because it's the same as our starting units and we want them to cancel out. Now, already know that I'm going to have to divide this number by this number, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Pounds will cancel out. I'll be left with kilograms for my final answer. 195 divided by 2.2. That comes out to 88.6. We'll just call it 88.6, give or take. Okay, that's all for today's video. If this was helpful to you, I hope you like and subscribe. Keep an eye on the channel for more videos. I'll be making more as often as I can make them for physics, biology, chemistry, maybe environmental science, and geology and space science as I get through more videos. Take care. Have a great day.